Deliciousness, bankruptcy, lawsuits, and chaos. All these are the legacy of Popeye's Chicken. The company began with the founder's intention to challenge KFC, but that failed. And in the owner's unwillingness to give up, he created a monster that would lead to a man's death. This is the shocking story of Popeye's lowest but most profitable moment. Al Copeland wasn't a regular teen. At 16, he left high school to work at Schwegmann's grocery store in Gentilly and a Tasty Donut, where his brother Gil had partial ownership. After working with Gil at Tasty Donut for 2 years, Al sold his car to become a Tasty Donut franchise owner. It was with that unit that Al learned firsthand how to manage a food service business. But Al wasn't satisfied, and in his 20s, he had a new idea he was certain would work. On June 12, 1972, he decided to open a new restaurant that served traditional Southern fried chicken. The eccentric entrepreneur named the new place Chicken on the Run. Unfortunately, he didn't run the place for long. After a few months, Al closed down his joint. However, 4 days later, he reopened the restaurant and renamed it Popeye's Mighty Good Chicken. And no, Al didn't name his joint after the beet-eating, improperly proportioned, and sailor cartoon character Popeye. He named his restaurant after fictional detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle, which Gene Hackman played in the 1971 film The French Connection. However, Al was grateful for the misrepresentation and used it to his advantage early on. It wasn't just the restaurant's name that Al changed. He also changed how he prepared his chicken, opting for a spicier variation, which customers loved. That love brought business. Lots of it. And if you like to learn about the history of your favorite eateries, be sure to subscribe for more content like this. In 1975, Al changed his company's name again, and by this time, he was certain he had found what worked and wanted to cash in on it fast. In 1976, Al began to franchise his business, with the first location opening in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Al was very smart when it came to marketing, and when the public mistook the origin of his business's name, he decided to exploit it. While Al had said he chose the name because of a film, he signed an agreement with King Features Syndicate to obtain the rights to Popeye the Sailor for 35 years. The chain began to use characters from the cartoon show for its marketing, packaging, and decoration. But it didn't stop there. The company also began to sponsor Popeye and Pal's cartoons on local television. So when people saw the sailor, they saw the restaurant, and Al, he saw money. Popeyes continued to expand locally. Then, Al's ambition grew larger as he wanted to make the brand bigger. The restaurant established a regional presence and soon a national one. Was the founder satisfied? Not even in the least. Al wanted to be like KFC. You see, his first chicken restaurant, Chicken on the Run, was supposed to compete with KFC, but that failed. So when the opportunity came to expand internationally and stick it to KFC, Al dug in. But before then, Al created Al Copeland Enterprises, which became the parent company for Popeyes. Copeland's restaurant, which Al founded in 1983, and other restaurants. Al wasn't just expanding his restaurant, he knew he had to keep things fresh. He introduced buttermilk biscuits to its restaurant in 1983. That buttermilk biscuits accounted for 25% of the company's overall sales by 2021. In 1984, the chain expanded to Canada, and it continued growing. Then the founder had an idea. He created Diversified Food and Seasonings in 1984 and transferred the rights to Popeye's recipes to them, as well as the only supplier of Popeyes with some products and seasonings. This move was brilliant, as you'll come to see later. In 1985, it opened its 500th restaurant and still remained an attractive investment for entrepreneurs. Newman of Laredo, Texas, bought several franchises in Texas and surrounding states. However, expansion slowed, but in this period, the chain still added 200 locations. Slow and steady wins the race, they say. However, Popeyes didn't just race. It caused a war which led to people dying, but we'll get to that later. Popeyes became the third largest chicken chain due to its massive expansion in the 80s. However, Al just didn't want his business to be number 3. So in March 1989, Al purchased Church's Chicken, the second largest, with a loan, and he used the assets of Popeyes as security. He got what he wanted. He was no longer number 3, but what he didn't know was he had gotten more than he bargained for. Al put his new restaurant under Al Copeland Enterprises, which now served as the parent company for the two chains. He now had over 2,000 locations of fast food restaurants, but he didn't have the support of people. The problem was his new restaurant competed with the old one. So instead of turning Church's Chicken into Popeyes locations, Al began to shut down underperforming locations and sell franchises. But he was trapped. Nothing could stop what looked like the inevitable. It seemed that Al's ambitiousness had prepared the path for his undoing. His businesses suffered from financial problems despite Al's attempts to improve operations. The debt Al Copeland Enterprises owed continued to rise. Eventually, Al Copeland Enterprises defaulted in repaying its loans, and it had to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in April. In October 1992, Copeland's creditors submitted a plan to the bankruptcy court. They planned to open a new parent company, America's Favorite Chicken Company, Inc., aka AFC, which would become the new parent company for Popeyes and Church's. Like that, his dream not to be number 3 took him off the list completely. But there was hope. Remember Diversified Food and Seasonings, which Al created in 1984 to control Popeye's recipe and supplies? He didn't lose it. The company wasn't part of his Al Copeland Enterprises. Before the bankruptcy, Popeyes signed an agreement with the company to supply spices till 2025, and it also gave the company the right to Popeyes recipes and products. So Al remained connected with Popeyes, and the restaurant paid him millions for the seasonings and recipes. That recipe caused chaos around America. Seriously, what did Al put into them? Under AFC, Popeyes continued to expand, and by 1999, it made $1 billion in annual sales and reached Malaysia and Australia, where it recorded impressive successes. However, the new owners were not satisfied. They wanted even more growth. So in 2001, AFC took the company public with an initial public offering of $142,818,479. The chain continued to go strong and developed unshakable customer loyalty. When it was said that chicken made people sick, people dared the sickness and continued to eat from the chain. That spice from Diversified Food and Seasonings made the difference. And on June 17, 2014, Popeyes bought its recipes with Diversified Food and Seasonings for $43 million. After that, Restaurant Brands International bought Popeyes on February 21, 2017 for $1.8 billion. And from then on, things got crazy. Chick-fil-A was popular for its sandwich, and Popeyes just wouldn't have that. In August 2019, Popeyes rolled out a new kind of chicken sandwich. By August 12th, the sandwich became a nationwide sensation, and Chick-fil-A wasn't having it. The chain said it sold chicken sandwiches before Popeyes, and boom, a war erupted, and it lasted for about 2 years. Popeyes benefited from it. However, their employees didn't, as the craze that followed the sandwich saw them working longer hours and even covering shifts for employees who quit. By the end of 2019, the chain saw a 38% increase in sales due to the new chicken sandwich. The sandwich even made it to TV. In a November episode of Saturday Night Live, Harry Styles starred in a sketch that parodied how good the Popeyes chicken sandwich was. The sandwich was so good that customers lost their minds, both in good and bad ways. But things were still calm until Popeyes ran out of the chicken. Then it was absolute chaos. When the chain began to sell the new sandwich, it projected to have supplies that would last a month. Unfortunately, it didn't count on customers loving its chicken so much that it ran out before the month ended. After declaring a shortage in supplies on August 27th, the chain declared there would be a re-release. It took 2 months before the chicken sandwich returned, and when it did, death followed. When the sandwich returned, there were long queues of customers wanting to eat it. Some Popeyes units even created lines specifically for the sandwich, but it didn't really help out. In California, a woman damaged her car just so she could prevent another customer from buying the sandwich from a drive-thru line. Eventually, she even rammed the customer. Wow, things got even crazier. In Florida, 2 customers beat each other up because they wanted to get chicken sandwiches. Sometimes even Popeyes employees aren't safe. Angry customers threatened them and leaned over counters as they demanded their sandwiches. In Brooklyn, after waiting for an hour to get their sandwich, a customer faced an employee and beat them mercilessly when they found out the sandwich they paid for was sold out. The easiest way to annoy customers waiting for the sandwich was to cut in line. A customer did exactly that, and an argument broke out between that customer and another one. Eventually, the 2 left the restaurant, and the other customer stabbed the one that cut the line to death. While Popeyes denied that it wasn't the sandwich that led to the customer's death, police revealed afterwards that it was. Popeyes has always had a loyal customer base since its founder, Al Copeland, created it. but things would go to the extreme later on. But it's not surprising, considering Al Copeland himself can be a little extreme. I mean, who buys a business without having a solid plan of how it'll operate? Al bought Church's Chicken and used Popeyes as security. He lost both restaurants when he couldn't pay. Although Popeyes would continue its dominance without him, we can't help but wonder, would the restaurant have become even bigger if it were with Al? Or would he have eventually made a mess of things? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support our channel.